have liked my neighbor brother for a long time, but I was discovered. Unfortunately, I turned into a cat. He forced me into his pocket and ran all the way home. I was confused the whole time. My neighbor brother collapsed. My mother ran away because she told me that we are fairies and we should run away quickly because humans are too scary. Me, Mom, did you forget to take me with you? I was gonna run away today, but the sun was too strong and I was exposed to the sun. A white kitten. I hid in the grass in the flower bed. Cars passed by from time to time, which scared me out of my wits. Meow. Mom. I kept crying for my parents, but the words I said were meow. I was really numb. Hee. A vulgar voice sounded above me. I took a step back and looked up. Neighbor brother, Guemo. I shouted excitedly, but why is he here and he is smiling so obscenely? Isn't he a cool male god? No way. Collapsed so quickly. I meowed a few times and tried to escape, but the other party didn't give me a chance at all. He grabbed me. Kitten. Ah, pervert. Mom, help me. I struggled for a long time and even bit him, but it didn't work at all. Kitten, be good. He touched me, it felt so good. No, I want to struggle. Meow meow meow. Pervert, pervert, pervert. My face is full of his smell. He looked around and forced me into his pocket. Scrape, it was all black, and in a moment, it was like a roller coaster. Meow. Mom, I cursed Gumo's ancestors. When I got home, I was dying. It was too fucking hard. Guemo took me out and I lay limply in his hands. I was half dead. Meow meow. He put me on the sofa, squatted down and looked at me, and even turned me over and pressed my stomach. Meow, I meowed weakly. Oh, dear, what's wrong with you? Meow. It's your fault. He picked me up, and I looked at his dark eyes and rosy thin lips. Wait, what is he going to do? Meow. I screamed for a long time in resistance. I blocked his mouth with my soft hands. Don't come over, bastard. Seeing that I had recovered, Guemo gently held me in his palms, and then took a deep breath. I couldn't push him away, and even took my little hand away. He rubbed me after kissing me. My voice was almost hoarse. Whoa, it's not clean, destroy it. I lay in his hands with my arms spread out, looking dead. Kitty, I'll be your daddy from now on. I turned my head to look at him. Damn it, I treat you as a male god, but you want to be my daddy. Damn it. I was ready to stand up and resist, but the other party. Whoa, perverts would think he was perverted when they saw him like this. Finally, he got me some beef to eat. I looked at the big piece of raw beef in front of me. He is really rich, giving me beef to eat. Guemo squatted down and looked at me, urging, Mimi, eat quickly. I don't want it. I want to eat it cooked. Meow. Guemo was stunned for a moment, and then he took the beef away as if he suddenly realized something. What are you going to do? He stood up, like a giant, and I took several steps back and couldn't see what he was going to do. He took a knife from the side. What did he do with the knife? I called out weakly. After a while, I smelled a milky smell. Smelled so good. Meow. Guemo glanced at me, smiled and bent down to pick me up. He grabbed me and put me in his palm. Mimi. I looked at the ground so high for me and my legs softened instantly. I even wanted to struggle down, but Guemo put me directly on the operating table. I looked at the cliff on the side and trembled. Guemo smiled and turned my head to the other side. I looked at a plate of milk, a big knife, and a box of milk. Mimi, come and drink milk. What a pervert. I didn't move, so he moved the milk in front of me. Little meow meow, drink quickly. I looked at the big plate of goat milk in front of me, but I couldn't put it in my mouth. As a result, my head felt heavy and my whole face was pressed into the plate. Gurgle, gurgle. My head felt light, and my whole face was wet when I looked up. Bastard. I rubbed it with my paws and licked it by the way. The taste rushed straight into my brain and heart. It tasted so good. I instantly forgot what happened just now and started drinking milk. Guemo lay on the side, looking at me with a chuckle. He touched me from time to time. When I had almost finished drinking, Guemo found the basket bag from somewhere and took me out of the house. He put me on the passenger seat, and I lay in the bag in fear and even wanted to run several times. Meow. I glanced at Guemo weakly. All his actions today have refreshed my understanding of him. Meow, good boy. He stopped the car and waited for the traffic light. He smiled at me gently and touched my head. About 10 minutes later, he stopped the car and held me in his arms. Meow. Guemo lowered his head and rubbed me, and kissed me. Good boy, we are here. I looked up and saw a huge pet hospital. Before I could react, he carried me in. Meow. What are you doing? Don't mess around. It took me less than 5 minutes from struggling to giving up on myself, and he ravaged me several times. Pervert. Hey, Brother Gu. How come you have time to come today? A male doctor came over. I looked over and saw that he was wearing glasses, a white coat, and a handsome guy. I was stunned, but Guemo, who had been playing with me, pressed me into his arms. Silly cat. Haha. The male doctor next to him saw it and couldn't help laughing. After laughing, he also touched my head. Another pervert? Guemo knocked his hand away. Help me check her out. How is she? After saying that, he picked me up from his arms and handed me to the doctor. The doctor stretched out his hand and held me in his palm, looking at me carefully. She looks good. Guemo also looked at me. She was very clean when I found her. He touched me with his fingers. I was so scared when two grown men stared at me like this that I dared not move a muscle. I was so scared. Aren't you afraid that she is raised by someone else? She is so small it shouldn't be. Meow. I am not small. I can make money. It's just the first time I show my true colors. Hee. The two of them smiled in tacit understanding. I was so scared that I huddled into a small ball, pitiful and cute. Give it to me. The doctor couldn't help it and looked up at Guemo. Guemo rolled his eyes at him. Get lost. Okay. Then I'll take her to get checked to see if she's sick. I want to watch you get checked. Sack, you don't trust me? This isn't a question of trust or not. Don't I know what kind of dog you are? The doctor held me in his arms, hesitant to speak, and finally compromised. If a sheep comes to your door, you'd be sorry if you don't pluck it. After the examination, I was completely disheartened. Perverted and a hooligan. Whoa. Humans are really scary. Mom. Guemo bought me a lot of breast supplies. When the doctor handed him the note, he paid without even looking at it. There are some other large items. Send them to me this afternoon. Okay. The doctor touched my ears and head. Meow. Don't touch me. I'll bite. The doctor smiled, and his hands felt wet and itchy. Take your dirty hands away. Guemo slapped his hands away and carried me into the car. Doctor. Stingy guy. Guemo put me on his thigh in his suit pants and started the car in a moment. I saw that the position was wrong and wanted to run, but I heard a voice above my head. Gu-K, don't move. If you fall down, I won't stop to pick you up. Gu-K? A new name for me? It's so ugly. Meow. I don't want this name. Guemo saw how I reacted and thought I liked it, so he chuckled. Gu-K, you can just like it. Meow. I don't like it. I wanted to stand up and protest against this name, but he pushed me down, and I lay still in an instant. Don't move. We'll be home soon. Seeing that I was quiet, he drove with one hand and touched my head with the other. The slightly bulging bag under my pants made my cat's hair stand up. He carried me to the bed when I went to bed at night. When I thought I could sleep well and have a good dream, moonlight came in from the window. I was half asleep and half awake, and I arched my back towards his quilt. Suddenly, I became a young girl, and I was so scared that I quickly covered my mouth. I lost my sleepiness in an instant, and stared at the sleeping man in front of me with wide eyes. When I was about to run, he turned over and held me in his arms. A warm touch on my waist stimulated me all of a sudden. I might not be able to bear the stimulation, so I quickly turned into a cat. My native language is speechless, but this is really exciting. I was curled up in the quilt, feeling mixed emotions, speechless and stupid. The man next to me was instantly awakened by the noise. He was also half asleep and half awake, and moved. Ha! He looked for me, then picked me up from his abdomen and held me in his arms. He called me in a low and hoarse voice. Sleep. Okay, accept your fate, little cat. The next day, Guemo took me to work directly. I put my hands in my pockets on the sofa in his office, curled up into a small white ball without moving. After turning into a cat, couldn't go home. I couldn't do anything. My mother also disappeared without a trace. I almost lost my job. My thoughts were interrupted by a sweet voice. Ah, Kitty. The beautiful girl came to my face with a pungent perfume, and I sneezed a few times. The man who just came in, Brother Gu, do you have a cat? Guemo, who was working in the office, hummed lightly. So cute. I looked at the two people in front of me, and the man smiled at me. The giant beautiful girl kept touching me and even wanted to hold me on her lap. I panicked instinctively. Meow. Who are you? I called out with hostility and resistance, and I was so scared that I hurriedly stepped back. Brother Guemo. The beautiful girl was disappointed, so she looked at Guemo aggrievedly, with a soft tone of grievance. Guemo raised his eyes to look at them, sighed softly, and came over to hold me in his arms. The little kitty hasn't had the injection yet. I touched my nose and then nudged into Gumo's arms. In fact, it was injected during the examination that day. He sat back down without caring after he finished speaking. Zhang Xian pursed her lips and looked at her brother who was watching the show on the side coquettishly. Brother, I want to raise a cat. Zhang Heng looked at his sister helplessly. You can't even take care of yourself, and you still raise a small animal? Don't bother the aunt at home to clean it up for you. Guemo looked at me. I was hugged by him gently. I felt good and wanted to sleep a little. Little stupid cat. His voice was very soft, and even the two people standing next to him didn't notice it, but I was drowsy and automatically blocked his messages and covered my ears. His office was so quiet that I fell asleep easily. Zhang Xian. Brother Guemo, can I come to your place often to see the kittens? Gumo's hand that was touching my head paused. Then he said, softly, sometimes, I get up in the middle of the night and always walk back and forth by the window. It's useless. Except for that time I didn't become a human being, and even my heart was calm. Gumo's love for pets is like a girlfriend in love. He wants to hug me every day and stick to me all day long. When he worked overtime at night, I would fall asleep on his desk, and he would still be working. Today was the same as usual. He worked overtime very late and I fell asleep. In a daze, I felt one of my little paws being held by a big hand and squeezed tightly. I half closed my eyes and couldn't help but scream. Huh? Gumo came closer, looking at me with his dark eyes, which seemed to be full of affection, especially with a smile, making people feel that he was looking at a cat with amorous virtues, and even touched the kitten's hand in a very hateful way to seduce the kitten. I was a little dumbfounded, even though I knew that the other party was very perverted towards me. The smile on his mouth was deep, with a smirk and teasing. No sleeping. I came to my senses and looked at him a little aggrieved. Meow. I'm making money to buy canned food for you. He was unhappily. Meow. I have become a kitten, and you still want to exploit my labor? Gumo chuckled. He liked this little cat very much. Every time he said something, she responded to every word. He thought she was very smart. Little did he know that his little cat could really understand. Good boy. Meow. After being praised, I was happy and lazily turned over and stretched my body. Okay, I'll stay with you for a while. After all, the canned food he gave me was better than his own food. Hey. He smiled and touched my head. I also cooperated with him and rubbed his hand. Felt really comfortable. I had planned everything, but I didn't expect that I would be stolen. There were so many people coming and going in Gumo's company, and he went to meetings from time to time. I was sleeping in my little nest in the office, and I felt someone coming. I opened my eyes and was taken away by someone in a sack. Meow, meow, meow. I screamed, but no one noticed that I was missing. Damn, no way, these days even little cats are stolen. After thinking about it, I didn't expect that the person who stole me was a doctor. Gumo, you are so stingy. You didn't even want to bring you to see me. I lay on his desk, not wanting to pay attention to him. Little kitty? Covered my ears, not wanting to hear. How can you be as annoying as your master? He picked me up angrily, and I stared at him. You stole me and you still want me to be nice to you? You're dreaming. As a result, before the doctor had enough fun, someone asked him to sign. He put me down and I lost my balance for a moment and fell into the trash can. Fuck. The doctor quickly picked me up, but I stunk. After he signed, he took me to take a shower. He had just put me on the chair next to the basin when he was called away by a phone call. I stood on the stool, shivering. The stool was too slippery, and I would fall into the basin if I wasn't careful. Meow. I sat down in the small basin, and my bare body touched the ground in an instant. I stood up in panic and took the white coat hanging on the side to put on myself. Changed, turned into a human? I was ecstatic, finally not meowing. Bang! Before I could react, the doctor pushed the door open. Ah! We both screamed at each other. Oh my God! The doctor quickly calmed down, but after taking a look at me, he was stunned at first, and then stepped back suddenly. When he saw the white cat ears on my head, he almost fell down. The scary thing is that Gumo is here. Lin Yu. We were still looking at each other. And then a low and angry voice came from outside the door. It's over, you. When the doctor looked over, I was scared like a kitten. I can't stand the shock and I react too easily to stress. I feel that if this goes on, I may die soon. Excited and panicked. I just lay on the ground with a dead look, motionless. I looked completely dead. Mom! Seeing this, the doctor thought I was really dead and ran over. Big sister. Big sister. I'm so irritated. It's too mysterious. I opened my eyes in a daze, and before I could recover, the doctor was picked up by Gumo. Are you sick? Damn. I'll give it back to you. After saying that, the doctor handed me to Gumo. His world collapsed, he was numb, and he felt like he had lost his soul. His hands were shaking as he held me. When Gumo took me away, the doctor was in a daze the whole time, and even asked Gumo to come less often in the future. It seemed that his condition was worse than mine. Later I found out that the doctor wanted to ask Gumo to go out and play together, but Gumo was too lazy to pay attention to him, so he had no choice but to take me to the pet hospital to play. It was almost the end of the year, and Gumo was too busy. I seldom saw him. He left me in the company, and the people in the company would play with me at any time and were very nice to me. But I felt like Gumo was ignoring me on purpose. Did the doctor tell him that I was transformed from a human? But I didn't know I was a cat before. It was so uncomfortable. I crawled in the little nest and soon I fell asleep. In my dream, I found myself abandoned by Gumo in a desolate mountain. He drove away without even looking at me. I didn't give up. I kept shouting and chasing. When I was wandering, I took a nap and was caught by dog dealers. I saw bloody dogs and cats. The sounds of that place were always low roars of unwillingness and screams, and the helpless and desperate wails of waiting for death. It was full of fear and despair. It was so scary. I was so scared that I tried my best to run, and even scratched people at all costs. My claws were stained with blood, I didn't know if it was from a human or a friend. I hid in a dirty and smelly ditch in fear. My snow-white fur was already covered with dirt, and I felt disgusting myself. People coming and going would retreat when they saw me. I was a little happy so I wouldn't be caught by anyone, but I was a little sad. This would increase the probability of me starving to death. No one would be willing to touch me, and no one would take me home. The only thing I could do was to find Guemo or wait for death. I didn't know why I had to find Guemo. Was it because of my feelings for him when I was a human? Or because of the life of serving him after I became a cat? Haha, I'm a stray cat. So what's the point of being arrogant? It rained later and I felt good. I had water to drink and could take a bath. I was sick and it was too cold. I thought I was going to die, but I was sent to the hospital by a few children. I looked at a group of innocent children who scraped together money for my treatment. I seemed to have no effect on the kindness of human beings, and my heart was calm. After seeing cruel things, kindness couldn't move me. I even felt that all this was caused by them. I seemed to be an object that would be thrown away after the novelty wore off. Those innocent children often came to the hospital to see me. I was living a good life, but I didn't like it very much. Because I was trapped in a cage. Every time I wanted to sleep, I would dream of those dead animals. The bloody scene lingered in my mind. I would go crazy. I would be very scared, and even growl, telling those people not to get close to me, but they didn't listen and wanted to hug me. When I struggled, I would scratch them. There was a heavy thing on my neck, which was more uncomfortable than an iron chain. When they killed us, they would tie me and my friends with chains, play with us and make us exhausted. Then, I felt very uncomfortable. Later, I ran away. While wandering, I smelled a smell on the road that I hadn't seen for a long time. It was the smell of the person who raised me before. I followed that smell and came to a pet shop. I saw a man in a suit and leather shoes choosing kittens. I couldn't believe it and called softly. Yes, it was Guemo. He looked at me with a very cold look. Extremely disappointed, I left the pet shop and found a corner in a daze. I woke up because Guemo pinched my nose and blocked my breath. After returning to reality, I still couldn't calm down for a long time and cried out in pain. Meow. Ah, you've been shaking. Did you have a nightmare? Well, I looked at Guemo who was holding me in his arms, and his tone was extremely gentle. It was suddenly different from the Guemo in the dream, and I couldn't help but lean into his arms. Meow. A chuckle came from above my head, and the doting tone was gentle and soft. Be good. I'm busy recently. I'll take you home tonight. Woo. Guemo in the dream is too insecure. Reality is better. Guemo drove me home at night, and when we were almost home, he stopped the car and looked outside. The cat was curious, so I climbed on the car window, only to find that he was looking at my previous home, but now it has changed to another family. Meow. Come here. He lifted me to his damn place. I lay down gently and looked up at him. Alas, I originally wanted to find a mother for you, but it seems that it's ruined again. What does this mean? Meow. I struggled to know, but he pushed me down and touched my head and fur. Let's go. He started the car and I was afraid of danger, so I chose to lie down obediently. Damn it. But, in a place where I couldn't see, the corners of his mouth slightly raised. He seemed very happy. After returning home, he put me on the sofa and went to the bathroom. I jumped on the sofa and even ran around, scratching the sofa. My claws were itchy, and I went to the table and the climbing frame, making a sizzling sound. I was instantly picked up by the person behind me. Meow! I looked at Guemo who picked me up with anger, and he seemed a little angry, but my claws were a little itchy, and I even set off fireworks for him in front of him. Look! The sofa and the table were messed up by me. Guilty. Meow. It wasn't me. Being a guilty cat, believe it or not, you will be fed canned food if you don't eat for 3 days. I just stared at him silently. What's that look? Huh. He lifted me up and swung me. I called out and he held me in his arms. Stop making trouble. Do you hear me? Meow. Got it. He held me and cut off my sharp claws. I looked at my chubby pink claws and couldn't explain why. I felt a little depressed. After a while, Gumo's mother called and asked him to come over for dinner. He took me with him. I slept in my own little school bag before going to his yard. When a cat sleeps, its body is so soft. Then, Guemo picked me up and started sucking me hard. But he was not as perverted as before and was much more restrained. Meow. Enough. Guemo smiled and adjusted the seat so that I lay directly in front of his chest. I stretched. He didn't say anything, just looked at me and touched my head. We stayed in the car. The people outside had been waiting for a long time. Maybe they couldn't wait any longer and knocked on the window to remind us. Boss Gu, it's almost time. Guemo ignored me and put a rope around me. Let's go. He put me on the ground and motioned me to follow him. Report. He insulted people. His house is really big, and slowly I couldn't walk anymore. Later, I just played tricks and lay on the ground. At first, he was embarrassed, but when he saw that I couldn't get up, some servants couldn't help laughing. The expression on his face was particularly dark. He had no choice but to squat down and poke me. I ignored him and continued to lie down, and he had no choice but to hold me. I've never seen a cat as lazy as you. His words didn't contain any accusations or criticisms, but made me more rampant. I was carried away after playing in his arms for a while. It seems that Gu's mother doesn't like furry animals, so Guillermo had no choice but to give me to the housekeeper to take care of me temporarily. I was held in a corner by the housekeeper, and in order to keep me quiet and not disturb them, he arranged cat food for me. I quietly looked at the delicious food on his table. Fish. I looked up at the housekeeper standing next to me, and he also looked down at me and smiled slightly. I lay on the ground in frustration, with my hands in my pockets, looking angrily at the fish on the table not far in front of me. Guillermo, who was at the banquet, looked back at me with a smile on his face. A moment later, a plate of salmon garnished with some caviar appeared in front of me. Eat it. The housekeeper squatted down and touched me. I glanced at them. This was more expensive than her canned food. Meow. Thank you. I only ate half of it when I felt the air pressure around me drop. I looked up at the Gu family banquet where a subtle atmosphere was taking place. Gu's mother kept talking, and her mood fluctuated slightly. The air in the whole hall gradually became colder. It seemed that they had a quarrel. Cats have good ears. I could hear almost everything from such a distance. It seemed that it was the marriage between the Gu family and the Zhang family. Bang! Get out! Suddenly, Guillermo looked at me when he stood up and left. I looked at him and hurried to follow him. Meow! After catching up, I looked back at Gumo's family behind me. Gu's mother looked at us angrily, and his father and elder brother kept comforting her, which made Gu's mother angry. When I turned around, Guillermo had already walked a few steps away. I hurried up. After returning home, Guillermo stayed alone on the balcony quietly, saying nothing and doing nothing. I rubbed his feet and then rubbed his legs. Guillermo sighed and picked me up. Meow, I stayed in his arms, quietly accompanying him emo. I found that I was gradually becoming more like a cat. I enjoyed this kind of life more and more. I ate and slept, and ate when I woke up. I even scratched myself and ran around everywhere. I curled up and fell asleep quickly. It seemed that I was put on the sofa in a daze. When I woke up, I smelled a heady smell. It was a bit unpleasant. I got up from the sofa and saw Guillermo, who was drunk next to me. Me? Milv? So disgusting. I couldn't bear it, so I went to drink some water in Guillermo's cup to relieve the discomfort of nausea. As a result, I was a little unstable when I got off the table. Meow. Why do I feel a little dizzy? I finally fell on the carpet, but the perspective seemed different, as if it was higher. No way? Now, it's not the right time. But I woke up because Guillermo picked me up and shook me. Why did you fall asleep? Meow, awake. I bought you a small bed. Why don't you sleep on it? Why do you sleep on my bed? Me. I looked confused. Forget it, he said and hugged me in his arms and went to his work position. Meow. What meow? Huh. The tone was relaxed and he said it casually. But I felt that he was in a very happy mood now. I pushed him to see his expression, but he pushed me. I'll make you food later. We stayed at home for a long time, so he took me out for a walk and held my hand. When we went to the street to walk, a sly uncle came and stopped Guillermo. Hey brother. Guillermo and I both stopped and looked at him. Is this your cat? Guillermo frowned slightly, his face full of black lines, as if telling the other party, doesn't it look like it? I see your cat's forehead is black. I sat and looked at the uncle. Guillermo laughed at once. He lowered his eyes slightly and looked at me with a smile. Oh, how about this? I'll tell you a fortune, free of charge. After saying that, he casually fiddled with his hands, and then frowned, and then relaxed again. Meow. Playing tricks. Ah, it's incredible, brother, your cat. I shut up, feeling a little panicked inside. It can't be really 2 brushes. Speak. Guillermo was impatient and asked him to continue. As a result, the other party was hesitant to speak. If you want to hear the land behind, give money. Crazy. Who gave him money? I quickly rubbed Guillermo's legs, motioning him to leave. Don't be cheated. 500 yuan has arrived in Alipay. Meow. Injustice. I watched Guillermo transfer money to the other party, and I was numb. I grimaced at the uncle in front of me. If Guillermo hadn't held me back, I would have hit him. Dog liar. Cat, you may not live long. We both fell silent. Not long means not long. But it doesn't matter. I want a peace charm. As long as your cat wears it, it will be safe. A bunch of boastful nonsense was omitted. Only 50,000 yuan can keep you safe. Brother, what are you hesitating about? The wronged Guillermo directly bought a red string with a little black bell. This 50,000 yuan peace charm worn around my neck, but I was not happy at all. I was dragged away by Guillermo, and I stared at the uncle. In the end, I was carried away. Guillermo frowned along the way, and I screamed very unpleasantly. After all, I was scolding him. We walked all the way back, and under the light of the street lamp, Guillermo was obviously helpless. Meow. Fool. 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 Hey, Xiaoma. I was in Gumo's arms, and I stopped meowing instantly when I heard this familiar voice. Instead, I looked at Zhou Cheiqian who was walking over. Zhou Cheiqian, my mother. Auntie Zhou, long time no see. Yeah, you have a cat. Meow. I didn't need to say anything. I could feel that she knew who I was. My mother looked at Guemo. Xiaoma, can I touch her? Guemo smiled and nodded. Yes. A cunning flashed across my eyes. When she was about to touch me, I pretended to signal her to bite her. Ah! Seeing this, Guemo quickly covered my face. My mother, this cat feels spiritual. She touched me from beginning to end. The two of them chatted about family matters and completely ignored me. Finally, my mother was about to leave, and I struggled in Gumo's arms and ran out. Meow, meow. Are you gonna leave me again? When others were watching, I kept calling my mother. The two of them didn't say anything, just looked at me in silence. Finally, she hesitated to speak, and finally asked Guemo to take good care of me. Xiaomo, take good care of your cat. I'm leaving first. I wanted to run over, but Guemo hugged me directly. We'll have a chance to meet again in the future. Why are you so anxious? Little stupid cat. Meow. Stop meowing. When I touched you, you wanted to bite me. You can't bear to leave. Meow. Okay, I got it. I'll open a small can for you when I go back. Meow. A little cat, of course, has nothing to do, except eating, drinking, defecating, sleeping, and playing. After Gumo met my mother, he was busy with work and dealing with his family affairs every day. Once busy, it lasted for 2 months. After that, the Zhang family broke off the engagement, and the Gu family completely ignored Guemo. After all, his eldest brother was still there. But today, Guemo came back and drank a lot of wine, hugged me and said a lot of things in a weird way. 3 years ago, he moved here and met a girl who often played outside his house. Sometimes she would say hello to him. If he hadn't looked back every time he walked away, he wouldn't have known that the girl was happy and excited and blushed. I don't know what she was thinking. Later, when he went home, he would slow down and chat with the girl. When the shy and immature girl asked for his contact information, he was stunned, and in vain, he touched the bud deep in his heart. He thought that if the relationship was a two-way rush, there would definitely be a good ending waiting for him. However, when I knew that the girl liked me, I put down my work and went home excitedly. On the way, I picked up a little kitten and found that she suddenly disappeared and moved away. As long as I miss her very much, I will, bang, become the person I want. Cat. He touched me and murmured uncomfortably. You can take it off tomorrow. After that, he fell asleep. I stared blankly at the man who fell asleep in front of me, and my heart calmed down for a long time, but she is a cat. I crawled beside him and looked at him. It would be great if she could become a human so that she could still choose to like her. But she is a cat, not a human. Thinking about this and that, the idea of becoming a human became stronger and stronger. Gumo's phone rang next to him. I took a look out of curiosity, and then gently tapped the screen. Doctor. In 15 minutes, you will find that your kitten is a human. Are you excited? Doctor. Will the other party still like you after becoming a human? You are so perverted. Aunt Zhou. Xiaomo, thank you for your hard work in the future. I have asked someone to send Xiao Qing's things. It should arrive tomorrow. Taoist priest. The secret cannot be revealed. I scratched the phone with my claws. When I was looking at his phone, a black shadow appeared behind me, and a low and hoarse voice sounded. What are you looking at? Meow. I was startled. The other party lifted me in his arms, looked at the phone, and smiled. I'm not like this to everyone. After saying that, he turned off his phone, took me into the bathroom and brought in all the things he bought some time ago. Wait a minute, you should be able to use these. He checked his phone, and I remained silent watching Guemo busying around. When did you know? Did the doctor tell him? Probably. Later, I was alone in the bathroom. As the doctor said, it was exactly midnight. I felt a little dizzy and dazed. When I woke up, I was already a human. I quickly put on my bathrobe. I took the clothes that Guemo bought in advance and put them on. After I put them on, I suddenly didn't want to go out. I was afraid to face Guemo, and I felt weak. After a while, there was a knock on the door. Are you okay? After struggling, I still responded to him. You. The person outside the door hesitated and then sighed softly. Then, I heard a slightly disappointed voice. I have something to do at the company. I'll leave first. Later, Guemo went to the company and I came out of the bathroom. My mother brought all my things to me. My phone fell into the sewer before it turned into a cat. Now I have a new one, and the phone number is my mother and Guemo sent me a text message. It's okay. It's just that the cat is gone and you're back. It means that he knows everything and I came back to make me feel at ease, so he said that. From then on, I became a virtuous wife at home. Gradually, the relationship between the two of us changed from a person to a leap forward. After all, Gumo's face made me completely irresistible. Later, I found out. On the day the doctor took me away, he saw that the doctor was in a bad mood, so he went back to ask the doctor. After the two of them understood the situation, The doctor was afraid that he would be in danger, so they went to a famous temple to find a master, and then asked about some Taoist priests in the society. Later, Guemo found my mother. Guemo asked the Zhang family to cancel the marriage, and the Gu family had an older brother, so he lay down, and the family members were too lazy to care about Guemo. After all, Gu's mother wanted to live a few more years. And I, because of the red rope bought for 50,000 yuan, I have been away from the identity of a kitten, and I have no chance with kittens. My mother didn't want to play in the human place, so she went to a place I didn't know, and she could only see her once during the Chinese New Year. The doctor was brainwashed by the temple master and the Taoist priest. He said the world is so big. Nothing is impossible, nothing is impossible. He treated me normally when he saw me later. Guemo is a bit abnormal, sometimes he likes to stay up late with the lights on, likes to do some scientific research, etc.